a your sight, in a your sight. In a God's eye, me want live right. Walk where you want me to walk. Talk where you want me to talk.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Candace, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty fine on this wonderful Sunday evening. How are you?
I'm good.
You look
Good.
healthy.
Thanks, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You look very fresh yourself. All right. So how are you guys doing? We hope everybody is doing fine. You know, we all started probably going back out to work little by little. So we hope everyone is okay and everybody is doing well. So we don't want to stick. We want to jump straight into it. I know Candace would have mentioned in the last episode that today's episode is going to be a follow-up to the episode on forgiveness, keeping receipts, right? So today we're going to be talking about purpose in Judas, right? And Candace would have mentioned it very briefly last week, but I'll just jump in. So I'm going to give us the platform from which we're going to launch from, right? And we're going to be starting in Job chapter 1, right? Where there's a conversation between God and Satan concerning Job, right? Which eventually ends somewhere around verse 12 with God himself giving Satan permission to test Job and giving Satan a certain allowance of power over everything concerning Job. And God gave a limit though. God said, I've given you some power, I've given you a free way to do as you please with Job essentially, but you cannot touch his life. Yes, so there was limits to that. So it is our understanding from how we read the Bible, in the sense that we read the Bible knowing that there are principles which apply to persons in the Bible that do apply to us as well. And on that understanding, we know that there is nothing that we face in this life that God does not allow to happen to us for one reason or another, right? And elsewhere in the Bible, we learn and we believe that in every instance, everything that we experience happens for our benefit and for our good. We see that in Romans 8:28, right? And we also know that God's intention toward us is always good, and it is never for our harm or to our detriment, right? And we see that in Jeremiah 29:11. So that's the basis that we're launching from today, that we know that everything we face is for our good and for our benefit, and God means us well. So we're going to be looking at two biblical experiences. I don't like to call them stories, right? We're going to look at two biblical experiences. Candace will take one, I will take the other, and we're just going to kind of dissect and look to see what we could learn from these situations as it concerns Judas's. I don't, Candace could probably just jump into like, what did Judas? I don't know how she's going to do her segment, so I'll just leave it to Candace. No. So let's go.
All right, guys. Okay, so as Mateela said, coming out of last week, we spoke about forgiveness and you needing to forgive persons who would have offended you, and even we ourselves asking persons to forgive us. What happens is that when someone offends us, there is a purpose in that. It's not about someone just hurting us for hurting us sake. Yes, something would have triggered that hurt, but God ultimately allowed it for a greater purpose. And sometimes we fail to recognize or remember, in the midst of our pain and in the midst of our hurt, God is allowing it for something greater. So that's the follow-up that will be happening today. So my example is the main guy himself, Jesus. Now, we all know Jesus came on the earth. He died for our sins. He had his disciples. He did signs, wonders, the works. Jesus did them all. However, sometimes we get caught up in remembering all the works and all the miracles Jesus did, and we fail to remember that he too struggled at some point in time as we struggled. Yes, he was the Son of God, but the reality is that he came in human flesh. So he felt the way we feel on a daily basis. So story goes, as we all know, Jesus, I think he was 33 years. I could be wrong, but I think people say he was about 33 years when he was crucified. So let's put a little perspective to this thing. So Jesus comes on the earth and he picks his 12 disciples. Now it's Jesus. So he picking his 12 disciples had to be like for Jesus to pick you, like you had to be like awesome, like something about you had to be crucial for Jesus to choose you out of the millions that he would have had. And out of the 12, he chose Judas as one. Now, the Bible tells us that there were some disciples who were closer to Jesus than others, and Judas wasn't one. But the mere fact is that he was somebody who Jesus held close to him, right? He was one of the 12. So what happened was Judas practically betrayed, not practically, he did. He betrayed Jesus. What happened? They wanted to kill him, Herod, and they wanted to kill Jesus. This man who come in doing signs, wonders, he have a set of followers, they needed to get rid of him. How could they do that? Judas betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. So let's look at how Judas did this and the impact it had on Jesus. This is me reading my notes. Okay, so guys, so Judas was handpicked by Jesus. We spoke about that just now. Judas was aware of his actions. Judas knew exactly what he was doing. Sometimes we tell ourselves, well, Mateela was going through a hard stage, so she really wasn't aware that she betrayed me. Sometimes we allow or get an excuse for why Judas did what he did. But the reality is Judas knew exactly what he was doing. He knew he was betraying Jesus, right? And Jesus knew Judas betrayed him before the act even took place. What happened was the Last Supper, and they were all eating. Jesus was saying his goodbyes by farewells or whatever, telling them, so much is going to happen. And he said, one of you all are going to betray me. And everybody was like, is it I, Jesus? Is it I, Jesus? Even Jesus was like, is it I, Jesus? And Jesus was like, yo, don't play games with me. Like, you know exactly what it is you did or what it is you're doing. Like, you betray me. And sometimes that's what happens with us. Persons betray you, and listen to me, they will sell you a story to make you feel that they did not betray you. And a lot of emotions will be involved. They can imagine how Jesus would have felt. You betray me, and I sitting down breaking bread and drinking grape juice or wine with you. Like what? Can you imagine the maturity it took for Jesus to do that? And on top of that, Jesus did not treat Judas any differently compared to how he treated the others. Jesus understood that Judas had a role. And out of all of the disciples that Jesus chose, nobody would have ushered Jesus into fulfilling his destiny as Judas did. So many times we are surrounded by a lot of friends and we don't have hard times going on and stuff like that. The truth is you need the hard times to get where God wants you to go. You need a little fire to push you forward. It is needed, and Jesus understood that. Right? Whew, I'm talking a lot. I feel like if I need some water, guys. Jesus knew Judas betrayed him and still ate with him for the Last Supper. And when it says Judas came and betrayed Jesus, Judas kissed Jesus, the audacity. After, when it's time for the soldiers and things to come and pick up Jesus, Judas, who not betrayed the man, come and he gave him a sweet kiss. The kiss of betrayal. And that's how it is for us sometimes. Persons betray us, and for the life of us, we cannot understand how does this person even functioning or expect to be treated normal after they do this to me. And the reality is, Judas is a bold face, whether it is our true individual or a circumstance, because maybe you were not betrayed. Nobody never said something about you that wasn't true. Nobody ever exposed, we didn't expect but probably you had a really hard season of your life. And early in the series, Mateela spoke about losing everything she had. When she came back to Trinidad after studying in England, that was a hard situation for her to go through. So the first example basically is for us to understand that when you are betrayed, although you sometimes cannot see the bigger picture as to why this is happening to me, remember what Jesus went through. But Mateela will speak about the other person just now, but what I want us to take so far about Jesus is Jesus's posture towards Judas. Jesus sat down and ate with this man. Jesus washed their feet. He humbled himself. He washed his disciples' feet. Jesus allowed Judas to kiss him. Let's just take a moment and imagine or think about the person who would have betrayed us deeply. And let's just think about our posture. Like later on in the discussion, we will discuss the reason behind it and the benefits of it. I won't go into that now. I'll let Mateela discuss the details of her person. But let's just take in Jesus's posture as we move forward, and then I will come back and talk some more about Jesus and Judas dynamic. So, Mateela.
All right. Posture of Jesus, right? All right. So the person I have to look at is Joseph. And this is a very personal, I have learned a lot from the life of Joseph in my most recent seasons coming forward. And I think when you think about Judas's, you will see that Joseph had seen them all and experienced it all on his way to purpose, right? So just as a quick start off, we want to just introduce ourselves to Joseph. I know most of us will probably know, but just in case, I just want to run through it really, really quickly, right? So we first meet Judas in Genesis chapter 37. He's 17 years old. He's the second to last of 12 sons. He's his father's favorite child because he was born to his father's favorite wife. He has one whole brother who is younger than he is. His 10 elder brothers are his half brothers, right? Now, Joseph's father, Jacob, showed his favoritism towards Joseph publicly, right? So we know the story of the gift of the multicolored robe, and we could imagine there may have been other public displays by Jacob to show that Joseph was his favorite child, right? And in reading his story, I also see that Jacob kind of kept Joseph close to him. You know, your favorite child, you want your son close to you, you know, so you see, while the 10 elder brothers would be working in the pastures, tending to the father's flock, Joseph would be at home with the father, and his job was to go check on his brothers and come and tell the father how things going. And in true last child, spoiled child splendor, right, Joseph would carry back bad reports. He would tell. Every family has a teller. Hi, Marcy, right? Every family has a teller. And Joseph would have told and carried back bad reports on his brothers. And the Bible tells us that they hated him, right? Now, in everything that the Bible would have said, we could kind of see how this hate would begin to happen, right? Because there you have the second to last youngest boy being the favorite child, right? The father publicly displaying this favoritism and keeping him close, and the special treatment that Joseph would have been getting. And then on top of that, you are just a half brother. So we could kind of see how the hate and the hatred would be setting itself in between the brothers, right? Now, on top of all of that, we know that Joseph would have had two dreams, which were actually visions of God concerning his purpose and his destiny, right? And in those dreams, the synopsis of them both was that Joseph would be superior to his brothers and even his mother and father, and there would come a time when they would need to bow to him. Now, Joseph, with his 17-year-old self, I want to imagine that he would have been aware that his brothers hated him, and to add salt to the injury, as they say, Joseph went and tell his brothers, well, yeah, I had a dream and all you're going to bow down to me and that kind of thing. And, you know, kind of aggravated the situation a little bit. Now, whether Joseph did that naively, if that's even a word, or whether he did it on purpose, I mean, you could see a little bit of gloating or whatever the case might be. I don't want to infer what I feel, but we know that that would have made the hatred worse. And the Bible tells you that they hated him even more. right? So we want to stick up in here for 1 second where we will focus as I go through Judas's. We want to bear in mind what Joseph's purpose was based on the dream. And what I interpret from the dream and what we know, because we kind of sitting in a position with Joseph as God sits with us. Because we have the Bible, we know what Joseph's beginning is and what Joseph's end is. And we're going to pretend Joseph doesn't know. And I want us to remember that that's how our life is with God. God knows our beginning, God knows our end, and we are the players and we don't know what's going on, right? So as we move forward, we're going to bear that in mind. And one thing I want to stick a pin in now is we want to know, I want you to bear in mind or take note of the fact that Joseph essentially was an errand boy to his father, right? You go and you check your brothers, you come back and you tell me, right? And we know that Joseph's ultimate destination and purpose in life was to kind of act like a prime minister in Egypt, right? Now, logically, my mind tells me that you cannot learn the necessary skills and you cannot have the knowledge to lead a nation such as Egypt. You won't learn those things from being your father's errand boy, right? So that's how we're going to start off now. So we see that there is some need for Joseph to acquire some knowledge, some skills, and, probably a little personal development in order to achieve his purpose, right? So we know the first Judas we're going to meet in Joseph's life is his brothers, right? Now we know that he was betrayed and he was sold as a slave by his brothers who he grew up with, right? Because of their hatred and their jealousy towards him. And this led to his first bad experience as a result of his Judas's, what I term the pit experience, right? Now, in the pit, this is the time when Joseph's brothers were trying to figure out whether they should kill him, whether they should leave him for dead, and what they're going to do when they go back home without him, right? This is the time when they conquered all their lies and everything like that to tell to their father, right? Now, Joseph was sitting in this pit. Maybe he was hearing them. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't. But in that pit experience, Joseph was going to be alone. He was going to be fearful and he was going to be very uncertain about what was going to happen to him, right? He was isolated from his brothers. He was isolated from the safety that his father would have put around him, and his mother was nowhere around to be seen, right? And we want to note here, in previous episodes, I think it would have been the mental health episode, we would have discussed the fact that the devil uses isolation to his advantage sometimes to pull us down. But today, I also want to highlight the fact that God uses isolation as well, but for our benefit. Sometimes God requires isolation so that we will hear him, right? Isolation in our case would be you had a group of friends, all of a sudden they're not talking to you, or you're not feeling to talk to them, or you somehow you just get shut off, or even just one experience has you feeling that way. If you are in a period of isolation right now, note to self, start to talk to God, because there could be purpose in that and God wanting to communicate something to you, right? Now, I also want to suppose that the act of Joseph's brothers by betraying him and selling him off as a slave, right, was also necessary for Joseph. It was necessary, and it was the catapult that started off Joseph's journey into his purpose, right? Because Joseph had to get from, I think it was Canaan, I'm not sure. He had to get from his father's place to Egypt in order to rule in Egypt. That is what we know. And looking at the situation, Joseph's father was very protective of him. So Jacob probably was not going to allow Joseph to go to Egypt just like that. And Joseph, being so comfortable and living a nice life with his father, taking care of him and all the favoritism and stuff, probably wasn't going to be very willing to give up his life and just move to Egypt into uncertainty either. So sometimes God has to allow certain things, maybe through people or maybe through circumstances, that would force you to move. Forcing you to move could be losing a job, losing family members. It could be anything that would cause a shift in your mind or cause a shift in your person. You move away from another job. Something would happen, and sometimes it has to happen by force because of who we are as a people, right? So in that particular experience, I believe Joseph would have learned a lot about humility, because when you're fearful and you're alone, you humble yourself before God, you humble yourself before others. I want to also believe he would have learned wisdom in that moment, because had he not said what he said to his brothers, he may not have ended up in the pit. He would not have aggravated the situation. So coming out of the pit, And it is a leadership skill to know when to speak, when not to speak, what to share and what not to share. So I want to believe in that pit experience, that's something that Joseph would have learned, right? And also he would have learned confidence and dependence on God, because at that time in a pit, there was nothing he could do for himself. So fast forward to the second set of Judases that Joseph would have met. We're talking Mr. and Mrs. Potiphar at the moment, right? Now this would be after he would have reached to Egypt. Joseph was sold as a slave. Now, the Bible tells you that God was with Joseph and he caused Joseph to be successful in Potiphar's house. But I want to note that of all the households and all the places that Joseph could have landed himself as a slave, he landed himself as a slave, or God landed him as a slave in the captain of the guard's house. And the captain of the guards was one of Pharaoh's highest ranking officials. So Joseph didn't just end up in any field somewhere making a brick or whatever. Joseph ended up in the captain of the guard's house, and there was purpose in that because of what Joseph was destined to do, right? So we see that the betrayal of his brothers was his entry into purpose, right? Now, in Potiphar's house, Joseph excelled because of God's favor, right? And the Bible tells you very plainly, Potiphar, Mr. Potiphar, that is, entrusted everything into Joseph's care. The only thing Potiphar concerned himself with was the food that Potiphar ate and his wife. Every other single thing, Joseph had authority, rule, and reign over. A Hebrew boy in an Egyptian household. And we also know from chapters going lower down that Potiphar's household also had a prison in it. And Joseph would have been the one that would have had the power and the administrative, the responsibility of running that household, right? Now, as with a lot of things, and some Christian people like to refer to it as hate. I don't like hate. I don't really subscribe to the hate thing, but sometimes God's favor brings unwanted attention, unwanted negative attention, unwanted positive attention, and then some attention, you just don't know how to categorize it. But in Joseph's case, all his success, all his excellence caught the attention of Potiphar's wife, right? And the Bible tells us, right, that Mrs. Potiphar was marking Joseph on a daily, and she was trying very hard to get Joseph to lay with her, right? So this situation, this house experience, as I want to put it, put Joseph in a particular situation, right? And to me, it drew out of Joseph one of the biggest qualities that he needed to be a leader in Egypt. And that is the quality of integrity, right? Because the Bible tells us that there was a standoff between, there was a standoff between Potiphar and Mrs. Potiphar and Joseph. And Joseph had to say to her, look, Captain of the guard, Mr. Potiphar has been good to me. He put me in control of everything. He reserved you for himself. I cannot do this thing and do a wrong against him, and that is integrity. Doing what is right when nobody is looking and when nobody will find out. So Joseph learned. Joseph had to subject to flesh. He ran, right? And after he ran, Mrs. Potiphar decided, well, all right, I will do for you. And we know the whole situation with the cry for rape and that kind of thing. And Potiphar, despite knowing the character of Joseph and despite knowing who Joseph was and all that he had entrusted Joseph with, did not believe Joseph. And the Bible tells you that he got angry, he got enraged, and Joseph was put into prison. This was Joseph's house experience, as I said, right? And despite things going so well for Joseph in that house, he was betrayed by someone who he served dutifully and with good intentions throughout his time there. So I would imagine that Joseph would have been hurt. He would have experienced disappointment and a dashed hope because Potiphar didn't believe him. And then the natural human rage, anger associated with somebody lying on you to that extent, that I raped you when I didn't. And that is something a lot of us probably would be familiar with. It may not be rape, but it would be people saying things you didn't say, people saying you do things you didn't do, or people just sullying your name all over the place, right? Now, the lessons I would have seen learned, that Joseph would have learned for personal development and onto his purpose, would have been integrity, as we said. He would have learned service. He had a spirit of excellence, right? He would have learned administrative skills. He would have learned management of resources on a household level. He would have learned leadership. He would have learned things about governance from being in close association to the captain of the guard. I would imagine Potiphar was so pleased with him that Potiphar probably included him in things that a slave wouldn't be included in. So Joseph probably would have heard conversations. He would have learned things from Potiphar that would have translated into him building himself for his purpose, for his destiny, right? So then Joseph found himself in prison for a crime that he did not commit, right? And the Bible tells us again, the Lord was with Joseph and extended kindness to him. He was made the head of the prison, and he again was in control of everything, right? Now, this prison Joseph was in the house of the captain of the guard, who is Mr. Potiphar. So Joseph was in prison in a house that he was once in control of, right? Now, if you want to throw a human element in there, you don't know if some of the prisoners might have been heckling him a little bit. I don't know what the situation is, but he found favor with the head of the prison and he was allowed to administrate again, right? Now, it must have been difficult for Joseph mentally to be in that situation, I would imagine, right? And it shows a little later down. Now, we now know that two of Pharaoh's officers were sent to prison, right? The cupbearer and the baker, I believe. They have both had dreams, and the Spirit of God gave Joseph the ability to interpret these dreams. And he interpreted the dreams, and they were accurate. The interpretation of the dreams were that one would be put to death and one would be restored to his former position. Now, Joseph went to the cupbearer, who was restored to his former position before he would have left. And to me, it was notable to see that Joseph was human just like us, because you saw Joseph lamenting on his situation to the cupbearer. I was a slave, I was kidnapped, and I was a slave from wherever. They brought me here. I was in Potiphar's house, and this is what happened, and now I'm here. Please, please, please remember me. There's no reason for me to be here, right? And to me, that was important, because despite how he would have felt throughout his pit experience, his house experience, and this prison experience, Joseph learned to rise above the occasion. He learned to rise above his feelings. He learned to not let his feelings get the best of him, because Joseph, quite frankly, could have had the worst attitude possible in those prisons in the house. Like, I as a slave, I don't have to go, I don't have to do nothing. They set a work what they're giving me as a prison. I don't need all of this. You understand? But Joseph maintained an attitude of excellence. He maintained an attitude of service, because he was put to serve the king's two officials that came to the prison, right? So we know that the cupbearer forgot Joseph, right? Until 2 years later, when Pharaoh had dreams and needed an interpreter, then he remembered Joseph. Now, those that have given Joseph other experiences, unpleasant ones, I would think, because you lament to this man, you were good to this person, and he gone and he ungrateful. He forget me, So David probably would have had to deal with a little bit of forgiveness when he come out of prison and he see the cupbearer like breads, like 2 years, like really though, So for me, looking at the story, I know I'm racing because I try not to take too long, right? Joseph would have learned in prison patience. He would have learned long suffering. Again, he would have learned to serve, right? He learned to master his emotions, to master his attitude. He learned to pursue excellence. He learned to he had to deal with unforgiveness. He definitely would have had to deal with ungratefulness, right? And he would have had to deal with bare betrayal by people who he would have extended himself for time and time and time again, right? And I want to say that he probably would have learned a lot about the justice system while being in prison. He would have learned a lot about how prison resources are being spent. He would have learned about the administration of the prisons. So when I look around administration, and he would have learned about management of resources again. So when you look through all Joseph's, all the situations that Judas would have put him in, every step of the way, he would have learned something that was very much relevant to his purpose. And God would have allowed him to go through each, because Joseph would not have learned about managing those kinds of resources being an errand boy for his father. He may not have learned the level of integrity. He probably would not have learned how to manage all those resources. Imagine just the grace, how to talk. You understand what I mean? Being around Potiphar, being around the administrators in the prisons, he would have learned jargon, he would have learned words, he'd have learned eloquence, he'd have learned the culture of the people. Joseph would have learned what it means to be royalty. Well, not royal. Joseph would have learned what it is to be high society. Let me put it that way. You understand? While in these different situations. So there is no situation Joseph found himself with up to when Pharaoh sent for him that we could discount and say was not necessary or relevant for Joseph being properly well equipped for his purpose, which was to be a premier in Egypt. Right? Yeah, and that's my bullet snapshot of Joseph and his multiple Judases.
Girl, that was really good. Like that. That was really, really, really good. Really good job. A lot of things were to me writing during you talking, because a lot of things stood out to me probably for the first time in hearing you relate a story like this. One of the first things, isolation. Like, even with Jesus, after Jesus was after Jesus had dinner with his disciples, he went to pray. And in praying, he carried 3 of his closest disciples with him to the mountain where he's going to pray. And he said to them, they know what's happening. He was playing with them. Guys, I'm going to die. Right? They are coming to me. I am going to die. He said that to them. So he said, I'm going to take 3 of you. Just watch and pray for me, please. It's hard for me. Watch and pray. Jesus dedicated his whole life given to these 12 men, and these 3 in particular. He asked them to watch and pray. He go on to pray. And Mateela, these men fall asleep.
Man sleeping.
They fall asleep. And Jesus came to them and he said, guys, I'm asking you just to watch and pray. Like, the enemy is out. Be alert. You'll be alert. Open your eyes. Like I am going to die. Like, I served you. This you cannot do for me. My 3 closest friends. He went again and he prayed and stuff. And he came back and he fell asleep again. And it's crazy to know that, listen, I'm just asking you all to stay up a little while. Like, why can't you just produce what I'm asking you for? And you said something in sharing. You said Joseph would have given up himself to his brothers. He would have given up himself to Potiphar and the wife. He interpreted man's dreams. You telling me you really forget the person who interprets your dreams? Like,
especially when the other man he interpreted for was put to death.
Exactly.
I was going to remember as soon as I reached out, like, yo, Pharaoh, here what happened.
And then the account says Jesus came a third time. And they fell asleep again. And Jesus, he left them to sleep. He was just like, you know what? But the point is, I am sure that the third time Jesus went to pray, that prayer was the most effective prayer. Yes. Because that prayer was coming out of a place of pain. He already knew he's going to die. But the 3 who I asked to stand for me, they can't even open their eyes and be alert. I am positive that prayer would have. I showed that the prayer where he sweat the blood. I mean, the Bible never said it. The Bible never said it, but I assume that the prayer where he said
no, because
on the table.
Of course, we know that there is something. I mean, being alone and being in isolation is never a good feeling, but there is something about that takes your interaction with God like over the edge. Like that's probably when, as you said, that's probably when the best prayers was going on, and that's probably when the battles really, really won.
Yeah, and I know this. I live this. This is something I live. Isolation, and nothing bears fruit.
Yeah.
Than good isolation. It's sounding pretty, but it's
in
not.
Hindsight, it's good.
Exactly, in hindsight. It's sounding pretty, but it's not. It's the most horrific experience you can go through. Nothing is more horrifying than knowing that, listen, you are alone. And as you said, it's a place where the enemy can be very dominant, but that's where your willpower comes in, and you have to see the bigger picture. So that was my first point I wrote down in your multiple really awesome points. The second thing I picked up from your stuff, Mateela, is that for Joseph, his Judas seasons never stopped.
Never done.
It never ended. Like, this man was just going through it and going through it and going through it. And the reality is, you'll always have to go through. There's never a level where you reach For
Yeah.
us to fulfill the destiny that God has for us to fulfill, you are going to be hurt, betrayed as you climb the ladder. It's
Correct.
not going to end.
And I just want to stick up at a point here that this is a good point for us to note and to bear in mind. I keep saying note and bear in mind whole afternoon that Judas is Judas. Yes, Judas most times is a person, but there are a lot of times when Judas could present itself as a situation, right? So a loss of a job might be something that isolates you, a loss of friends, right? Without anybody actively betraying you or hurting you. Sometimes life itself
Something
just
that's
lands you in a
crushing,
situation where,
crushing experience.
yeah, a crushing experience, a threshing floor experience,
Mhm.
right? Sometimes life just gives you a threshing floor experience. And while it may not be a Judas in the context of what a Judas is, it brings about the same Judas result.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
so that's why the Judas sin will never finish because we will
yeah.
never reach, whether it be a
and
person or a situation.
and the truth is we always have to grow. Like the growing never stops as a Christian. Growing, maturing is always needed. Even Jesus himself, I'm sure if he still a little longer on earth, he'll have a lot of growing and stuff to do still. So
Yeah,
for us to fulfill our destiny, the growing cannot stop.
yeah,
And when a tree is growing, you had to get pruned. Like you had to lose some leaves, you had to get some good chop. You had to go through, like you had to go through it. So that is something that really stood out to me as
yeah.
well. Point number 3, your character will be tested. Your character will be tested. Like even I was saying that like Jesus allowed Judas to kiss him. I can imagine somebody having the audacity
No,
to want to
because that
kiss
situation with Jesus, if we have to bring it to us now, because we don't have the all-knowing mind that Jesus has, right? But sometimes somebody might do something, say something to you or whatever, right? And then you get wind of it via somebody else, and you know that. So you know what I know what Amy do via Ben, right? And then Amy coming to approach me and smile in my face and Mateela, ha ha ha, and this, and Ben done already tell me what is going on. The pressure that Jesus had, I being very real.
Yeah.
I not sure that Amy not kissing me. I
Yeah,
mightn't say nothing. I mightn't, but come on,
your
the
character
character
the
is
character will be tested.
yeah,
And it's not hard, it's not easy, sorry, for your character to be tested. Even with Joseph, you accuse me of rape. You accuse me of invading your most personal space. You dirty my name, as we say. And I saw Joseph never raised his voice at Pharaoh. I saw Joseph kept the most humble posture. So that's another point that really, really stood out to me. And the truth is, Mateela, for us to grow and become all that God wants us to do and to be, and for us to be willing to become, to be pruned, because it's one thing for the circumstances to come. It's a next thing for you to be willing, as you were saying. Joseph could have course long time. He could have said, I
yeah.
have a house and
Joseph
I
could have
can't
been
do
worse.
nothing. I
Mm-hmm.
in jail, and he would have given up. But your mindset has to be, listen, God is allowing this because ultimately whatever God is doing is to work out for my good. And the reality is, for us as Christians and even those who are yet to join this awesome kingdom of Christ, it must cost you. It must cost you something to reach and to reach from your cross to your crown. It must hurt you. You have to get that crown of thorns on your head. You have to get that piercing in your side. You have to be thrown into the pit. You're not exempted from it. It must happen. It has to happen. There's no shortcut of fulfilling your destiny without going through your Judas experience. However,
Because
we're
yeah,
seeing it.
and it's because it's like just like we see in the life of Joseph, right? And even in Jesus's life, you are born with a purpose, right? you are born and your purpose is a destination, right? You are born and you will have in you certain qualities and stuff that is necessary for where you're going. But
Yeah.
we are limited in flesh. There's a lot that we have to learn.
Yeah.
So if I have to be a prime minister, if I have to be people's champion like Jesus was, there's a lot that you have to learn. Jesus would have learned. Jesus would have learned from his time as a boy in the temple, coming up the road. Every experience, every miracle coming up the way. The people who were chastising him for what he was doing and stuff like that. Imagine if Jesus had lost his school. Imagine, because at the end of the day, as we were talking, it all depends on your perspective, right? When something happens that puts you in a particular situation, when you face in a Judas, you have a choice, right? And the choice you make determines whether your isolation would be would be something that the devil would use, or whether your isolation would be something that God would use. And it all depends on how we choose to see it and the choice that we make, right?
Yeah.
But a journey, even outside of Christianity, a journey to be a professional. There is
Yeah.
learning, there is breaking, there is F's in exams, there is A pluses, there is wanting to quit and drop out of school. There's one, so at any journey or any process, there is learning and there is experience that needs to be had in order
Yeah.
to do and to accomplish what you have to accomplish.
Yeah. It's like the stepping stone to success. Like
Yeah.
it has to happen.
Yeah.
I
And,
think
and that's why God allows it. And that's why
yeah.
God assures us that everything is for your good, right? Whatever I face is for my good, which is that's why you don't envy people struggle,
Hmm.
right? And you don't envy people glory,
Yeah.
because that is what they need for their purpose.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand? And you might watch somebody and you might say, well, my burden's so heavy and my burden's so thing, and why I had to be the one that have to be going through this all the time. And da da da. And Candace, we talk about this all the time, these threshing floor experiences, right? Why I have to, you're looking at this, but everybody, seem to have da 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 da. You can't do that, because my lane, my race, my goal is not the other person. So the process cannot be the same.
And you're talking there, and like this topic is like, I think the closest one to my heart, since
Yeah.
I think did I suggest this topic? I'm not even sure, but this has been like the closest to my heart and all, because
I think you did, actually.
I remember your mom, Sister Scott, a very wonderful young lady, guys. I'm saying young lady, but I admire her very, very much, Sister Lisha Scott. I remember Sunday in church, this year, I believe, she came and she said something to me, or was it late last year? And I will never, never, never forget it. She said, Candace-Joy, sometimes what is in us, well, she said me, but I will say us, what is in us is so significant that the refining process takes longer. And that stuck with me, because, as you say, sometimes you're confused, as in, because the thing about it is, Joseph and Jesus, they did what they had to do. They stayed on the path that they needed to stay on. They didn't divert. And sometimes you say to yourself, God, I am faithful. God, I am doing. I mean, of course, we are not perfect, and of course, we fall. But generally, you're talking about, sometimes you say, "Oh, generally, I do what I have to do. Why is it that this person came into my life, and why did you allow this to happen to me? Why am I unemployed? Why did this?" And you're confused, because you're saying to yourself, am I a sinner, and what am I doing?
It reminds me of a joke I always make with Abigail, right?
Mhm.
I'll always be grousing with her about a particular situation. I'll be like, you could tell me, I just pray, I just fast, I just go to church. I pay my offering. You mean to tell me this is what God will send my way? And I say, nah, Abigail, God can't do that.
Like you can't wrap your mind around it. And to be honest, I still struggle with that. But when Sister Scott said that to me, it was like, wow, like when it is I reach wherever, or you reach, or whoever is viewing this, when it is you reach that place God has installed for you to reach, you will be fully prepared. Nothing will take you by surprise. No obstacle will be too big. No hurdle will be too high. Because why? I have already climbed the highest mountain. I have already fought in the toughest and the raging of seas. I've already been through the blazing fire. So now I am equipped
Yeah,
for
exactly.
whatever comes my way. So it's so true. Sometimes you really get distracted
Because
by
in
what's
Joseph's,
happening.
there's two things I want to say. One, before I forget, as we were talking about that thing, for persons who may find themselves having to deal with the same type of Judas over and over and over and over again, I know that can be very frustrating and very, very tiring, but kind of condition yourself and talk to yourself to view this as the testing of a character, because of your character in that specific area, because God is trying to teach you something in there. And sometimes it takes one break in the same foot, one break, two break, three break, four breaks in the same foot in order for you to catch the right stride. Right? That's the first thing. And the second thing I was going to say is, as Candace was saying, we know that after Joseph would have exited the prison and would have been would have been put into Pharaoh's government in whatever realm, right? He would have had to manage the years of the famine and the whatever, right? And he did it in a very calculated way. X amount of the stores, put in his stores and whatever for the 7 years, whatever, so that he could have fed Egypt and could have fed everybody else. Now, let us think for a minute. If Joseph had just rolled out his father's lands, whether it's Canaan or wherever, I can't remember, right? And just rolling Egypt, who was going to listen to Joseph? Nobody. You are a farm boy, you are errand boy, you don't know nothing, right? But Joseph was put through a series of testing and trials throughout which he would have learned. They would have seen his excellence, they would have seen his aptitude, they would have seen his potential, right? And he would have had the experience, because Joseph's resume, when Pharaoh had to deal with the dreams and whatever, Joseph's resume would be like, well, yeah, I was in the captain of the guardhouse. I was managing all of this. I did this. I ordered the food for how much ever. The prisoners were well fed. This was well fed. This is what our budget looking like. This is how much excess that I have. So the whole experience, as the Bible tells you, everything works together. The Joseph's whole experience, from betrayal of his brothers, comes straight up the road. That even the betrayal of his brothers would have taught him something about interpersonal relationships. Joseph would have learned how to identify personalities. Joseph would have learned how to, so the lessons through Joseph's struggles would have been so much that Joseph would have come out like the perfect candidate for the job. And
Yeah.
essentially, that is what it is. You have a job that God has destined for you to do, right? And you go to school, you go to university, you get job experience in order to apply for that job. And you get selected based on your knowledge, your training, and your experience. And that's how it works throughout our life. Your knowledge, studying the word, or your secular knowledge by going to school and all these things, because all of that is very important, right? Your relationship management with parents and everybody and everything like that, right, is really, really important. And all these things equip you for the job that you need to do.
Yeah. And the truth is, we ask God for it to know. We say, God, use me. God, take me to another place with you. God, you're using this person so well. Oh gosh, Lord, I'll use me like that sometimes. We just perfect,
Chain
but
up.
we don't know. We don't know what we're asking
Chain
for.
up. Yeah.
We don't know what we're asking for. And the truth about it is, like, I'm currently reading a book by T.D. Jakes called The Crushing, and he said in the book, it's one thing for you for the seed to grow and to develop into the grape. Like, you have the fruit to become something, you are a grape. But God doesn't seek for us to become grapes. He wants us to become the wine. And the only way the grape will be able to become like the wine, it has to be crushed. And God's desire is that for each one of his children, each one of his creations, that we become the wine. That is God's desire. And that is in us. We too want to become what God wants us to become. That's our desire too. However, we sometimes, not that we forget, but we sometimes find it's too heavy. Lord, what you require of me or what you are carrying me through is too much. But if it is, we want to be more than a grape, because being a grape is fine, being fruitful is fine. But that's not the end goal for us. We must become all that God wants us to become. We want to become the wine, but we have to go through that crushing experience. We have to go through that broken experience. We have to go through the tears. We have to lose. We have to be disappointed. Persons going to not show up. How will I know to depend on God if somebody is always
That is
going
it.
to lean
That is
on?
it.
You have that person has to go for me to now lean on God. Like, if you think about every situation you would have experienced, you realize that the Mateela now is nowhere the Mateela I was 2 years ago, because what God has
Believe that.
has created a Mateela I don't even know could have possibly existed. Right? So is it's a lot, but as you said, in the midst of the chaos, just take a seat back and say, all right, God, so and so going on, guide me. Because as you said, God only wants to bring out the best in us.
Correct.
It's only good. It's only good. It's only good. And no matter how daunting the season, maybe the end goal is beautiful. Jesus. If you ever watched the Passion of the Christ, or even read the story or the account of when Jesus was crucified, it was the most gruesome. His guts was spilling out of his sides. They crowned him with thorns. He had holes in his hands. And that most gruesome death led to the most beautiful act that you will ever know, the greatest story you will ever know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, take it patience.
That is it. I tell you, I have conditioned my mind. So when I see or I experience something, I realize it's difficult for me, I start to talk to myself. Tila, all things work together for good. All things work together for good. There have to be a lesson in this somewhere. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was a time, like when I was trying to encourage people before, where you find like you're dealing with the same thing over and over and over. To be honest, I get kind of frustrated and kind of fed up. Right? And I showed the fed up to God, right? Um, I showed the fed up to God, and I want to stick up in here.
Fed up, see.
Yeah, the fed up. See, that's Mateela's dictionary. I learned something from reading the Psalms from David, and that is that David was always very honest with God.
Yeah.
Now, God knows your heart, yes, but
Yeah.
it's a different when somebody knows something of you and when you let them know that this thing frustrated. And I remember there was something I was praying about, and it was real frustrating because it was just frustrated. And at night I was in my niece's bedroom there, and I was just so fed up. I started cry, ugly face, cry and snap and thing. And I was just like, dread, like, Lord, like I just can't take it anymore. I cannot take it anymore. I fed up. I fed up. What is the lesson here? I know it will continue happening until I learn the lesson. What is the lesson? Show me the lesson. Let me see the lesson. And I fed up. And I learned the lesson, right? I saw the lesson. So, don't be afraid to be honest. Don't be afraid to get tired. Don't be afraid to get annoyed. Don't be afraid to be fed up. Be honest with God and also be honest with people, because I would have shared with my friend Abigail, I would have shared with my sister, I would have shared with Candace as well some of my frustrations at time. And this is the reason for Walk That Talk, right? And this is the reason for, God encouraging us to be among the brethren, encouraging this whole community thing, because truth be told, Joseph lamented to the cupbearer. This is what happened. I was a slave and they bring me here and I was wrongfully accused or whatever. These things will happen, right? So it's not like you just have to be like powering through. We're not trying to be unrealistic here, that you could just watch your frustrations, watch your Judases and smile. And no, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying we need to bear in mind that in everything we experience, there is purpose because we are living lives of purpose onto purpose.
Yeah.
So nothing is by chance. Nothing is by chance, right? So it's just to give yourself the best chance,
Yeah.
by being open minded, by
Yeah.
seeing your struggles, seeing your challenges as opportunities for growth, as opposed to things that come to flatline you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you said David, something came to mind. The psalm says, David said, even if I lay my bed in hell, you are there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter literally what the Judas experience may be or may have been or will be. You are so right. God is there, like He is present, and cry out to God to let Him know how you feel, like open up, and He is present. And I want to read a scripture, Romans 5. This is 3 to 5 MSG version, guys. If you're looking for like the contemporary Bible to read, so like be as plain as possible, read the MSG. Anyhow, this is what it says. There's more to come. We continue to shout our praise even when we are hemmed in with troubles, because we know how troubles can develop patience in us, and how that patience in turn forges the tempered steel of virtue, keeping us alert for whatever God will do next. In alert expectancy such as this, we are never left feeling shortchanged. Quite the contrary. We can't round up enough containers to hold everything God generously pours into our lives through the Holy Spirit. So it doesn't matter what you go to, like that's what it says, there's more to come.
Yeah.
Troubles will come, hardships will come, but we continue to shout and praise in the midst of it. And that's something we were driving in this discussion so far. Plus, there is everything. But the
Yep.
end
And
result, be assured, the end result is going to be so much. The scripture says you won't even have enough containers to hold whatever it is God is allowing or going to bring your way.
yeah.
Romans 5, 3 to 5. So,
And we also get assurance as well, greater is the end of a thing, than its beginning. Like there are assurances, there are things that you read, things that you say to yourself that will encourage you even in these Judas moments and Judas situations. So Candace, you have any, well, not asking if you have any, I know you do have endpoints.
I actually set all my endpoints.
Oh, you said, oh, you said all the
Yeah.
endpoints. Okay. I didn't even realize. All right. Well, my conclusion is nothing, there's nothing that I really didn't say before, but I'll say it anyway.
Okay.
As we saw in the scriptures, and I found that to be very, very, I didn't notice it before preparing for this today, that at the beginning of each one of, at the beginning, Joseph's entry into Egypt, into Potiphar's house, and his entry into prison, the author took time to let us know, right, that God was with Joseph. In Potiphar's house, God was with Joseph and gave him favor. In the prison, he was there and he gave him favor. So that means that with us, he will be there and he will give us favor because he knows that what he is taking us through or what he's allowing us to go through, right, is for our benefit. So and he knows it would be difficult. He knows it might be hard, but he guarantees that he would be there, right? And again, as I would have said before, the experience and skill that Joseph needed to be a non-Egyptian born prime minister in Egypt, he could not learn being an errand boy for his father in the country. He couldn't, right? His Judases, even though they had wicked and bad intentions, right? Meant to crush and to destroy Joseph, those same wicked and evil and bad intentions put him in place and in position, right? To learn exactly what he needed to achieve the purpose that God put him there for. So what they intended to crush Joseph was used to fuel his excellence. So you need to know that whatever your Judases may do to you, whatever situations you may find yourself in, regardless of what those people intend, we're going back to Job in the beginning, where God allowed things to happen for one reason or the other. God allowed, because God could stop anybody in their tracks at any time. So know to yourself that if God does stop somebody in their tracks, right, it's because there is something in their interaction with you that is necessary for you to get to where he wants you to be, which is your place of purpose, right? And as I would just say, in every instance, what seemed to be the most awful experience that a person could endure was intended and allowed by God to bring out of Joseph that which was necessary for him to step into his purpose. And Psalm 105:19, that's my scripture for the year. That's my banner on WhatsApp, right? It confirms this when it says, until the time came to fulfill Joseph's dreams, the Lord tested his character. And what that means is God knows what the purpose and Joseph's dream and Joseph's vision and purpose was for life. And until the time came for him to execute, the Lord would have tested his character in line with that purpose. So it was the same. So my WhatsApp status is, until the time came for the fulfillment of Mateela's dreams and visions, the Lord tested her character. So that's my reminder that when I see a piece of nonsense in front of me, right, it's like, oh Lord, all right, you tested my character today because something lesson in here is necessary for what you want me to do. And I have my purpose, I have my vision board, and I know what those things are. So when I see something like, okay, which category, which one of the visions you come to refine me for? You know, which one of the visions you have come to bring out better in me? Or sometimes these things come to crush you, to remove certain things as well.
Yeah.
Certain attitudes and certain things.
I want to say there's no, sometimes, or someone may be listening to this and say, wait, boy, I probably would have failed a test, or I probably would have allowed Judas to get the best of me and not allow God's fulfillment or God's destiny for that situation to come to pass. God is a God of grace. And even if you would have missed the opportunity in that season, God will always allow another time or allow another season to come up. So just in case someone listening and probably saying, well, my time is up, or I've been crushed and I can't make a comeback. That's not the God we serve, and that's not how things work. You know, I just wanted to stick that pin in there. And by the way, if anybody have any questions, feel free to type it now. Just plugging in that pin there. If any questions you want to shoot us, feel free to shoot those questions right now, right? And secondly, Mateela, I want to say that sometimes we feel as if that is it, like this one is too big, this one I can't get over it, I can't get over it. And the truth is, Jesus died, yes, during his crushing experience, but he resurrected. And there's nothing that has the ability, once God does not permit it, to end you or to be the death of you or to be the experience that will overwhelm you and Candace-Joy or Mateela will not be able to make a comeback. No. Even if it's something that you feel, hey boy, this one is really it. Yes, Jesus died, but he also resurrected. And a resurrection season is always on the horizon. It will come. It will come as sure as the sun is to rise. Will come your blooming from your wilting season. As sure. Once you remain positioned, because it's one thing to be betrayed and to be hurt, but those experiences accompanied by survival and good posture was the remedy. Like you have to put in some effort in it. So your resurrection day will come. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. It's serving an awesome God, and all things will together for good. So I'm seeing a question. How do you
Before
distinguish?
you say the question, I was going to say
Okay.
on that missed opportunity as well. My experience has been when it comes to refining and when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to learning what you need to learn for purpose, that when you don't learn it the first time,
Mm-hmm.
that Judas or that Judas situation is going to show up in the same way or very similar way as it did. God, because it remains the reason for testings and trials is to bring about change in us, is to bring about maturity in us. So if you don't learn it the first time, you're going to repeat the standard. You don't pass tests, you're going to repeat it. You're going to get the opportunity to learn that lesson again. And that's why some of us, I hear people say, people always doing me this, or people always doing that. You might tell yourself, I'm too soft and I need to, no. Sometimes you just had to dress back. It always happening to you. I ask myself a lot of questions. Why is this always happening to me? Why somebody always have to whatever, whatever? Why this situation always comes this way? And you ask the Lord, Lord, what is the lesson here? Because it's a staged approach. You're passing stage 1 before stage 2, right? So when you complete level 1, you level up, and then you had a complete level 2, and you level up again. So the opportunity, when you miss the learning, the opportunity to learn again will come back. Trust
That
me.
that alongside with the characteristic isn't built as yet.
Yeah,
Whatever characteristic you need to be built, so that characteristic of strength, of independence, of patience.
yeah,
God will work it until it's ready. So He will stretch that,
yep.
work that until all right. She have it now. I will release her
I guess
until
it.
so. He will keep on flexing that little soft spot until it's ready and it's tuned up to function.
Yeah, that's that. So they can put up the question now, producer.
Question time.
Questions and comments. How do you distinguish between a Judas for opportunity and one for destruction? I will
So
say you don't always know at the outset. Like you can't watch it and see this is an opportunity or this is one for destruction. But to be honest, I think whether a Judas situation or a Judas is the opportunity or destruction depends on your perspective.
what is meant by opportunity?
One for your, I believe they mean one for your advancement, one for your personal development, one to take you towards purpose.
Oh,
I
okay.
think every Judas situation
Yeah.
is
So I was
for
gonna say that.
opportunity and
Yeah.
is for advancement, but depending on how you respond or how you look at it, it might destroy you. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is for your advancement. The
Mm-hmm.
Bible tells you that all is for my good.
Yeah.
So if it's something to destroy me, it means probably I didn't approach it correctly or approach it from the right mindset. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
I agree.
All you're quiet today. Since in the week we tried to get you all to talk about Judases and the experience with Judases, and nobody is saying nothing, no matter how we try. Or
Probably it's
still
a
quiet
touchy
today.
topic.
Huh?
Probably it's a touchy topic.
Yeah.
My Judas experiences taught me and are teaching me dependence on God and that I'm not weak but strong. Could be stronger, but certainly not weak. Yeah.
Definitely. So work in progress.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that I struggled with. I used to be like, Candace, are you weak? And I think we spoke about this in some episode. I can't remember which one.
Hmm.
Like, what happened? Am I weak? Like, what is going on? But just give yourself time. Sometimes we forget that we are human too, eh? As all that we trust God and stuff, and that is correct. But sometimes I think we are too hard on ourselves. And I
Yeah.
remember us having this conversation in an episode.
Yeah. Definitely. Give yourself a little break here every now and
Yeah.
again.
Breed.
Yeah, of course. Well,
Well, if you have no more questions today,
no.
well,
Money.
I don't think I think that's okay sometimes.
Of course.
Probably we will just cover everything.
Or maybe there's just a lot to think about. Who knows?
Yeah.
I learned a lot. Okay, seeing that you all don't have any comments or questions, Candace, have you had? I know there was one time I told you in preparation for episode, or I told everybody in preparation for the episode on forgiveness that I get a little bit of deliverance or a little breakthrough about understanding. So, is there anything that you would say, or any new perspective you have gained today, or anything that you have learned in preparation? Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, I got my deliverance. Let me say like deliverance, we just mean like enlightenment, like, that oh wow moment.
Yeah.
What stood out to me is when Jesus went to pray and them she meant fall asleep on him more than once. And it brings a lot of clarity, as in sometimes going through a hard season is hard, but going through a hard season alone is a whole nother ball game. But as you mentioned, Mateela, only in isolation can certain characteristics be developed. Only in isolation can God speak, because sometimes we are crowded, too many voices in our ear. So I realized there must be a isolation period in your becoming, in
Yeah.
your development. That must happen. You must shut away. There must be a time where you hide away and it's just you and God. Whether it is people leave you, or you said it for yourself, or you leave them. Not
Yeah.
leave as in I'm no longer your friend, but you take that time. But that period is needed, and that period is crucial in development. And when you think about different men and women of God in the Bible, they had a period too. David, before when David come on the scene, it wasn't just so David
Yeah.
was minding sheep long time. David and God minding sheep in the past. That's a long, long, long time. So
Yeah.
God has to have you for himself and develop you and make sure that when it is I finish, or I put you where you're supposed to go, you comfortable with being alone, and you're comfortable with loneliness, and you're comfortable with just being God and Candace-Joy, God and Mateela. So when you on that platform, nothing is shaking you.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of leads us into the question being asked by my Auntie Lisa, at the moment, right? So she's asking, what role does obedience to the truth of the word of God play in the development of our character?
Mm.
And is everything. And
Yeah.
that's to me, that's the word of God is the first port of call and the first basis for the developing our character.
Mm-hmm.
Before, in purpose and outside of purpose, because
Yeah.
that is where even if you look, a lot of the things that David would have learned, like qualities, long suffering, servanthood, servitude, and all these things, these are things that the Bible encourages. And you could only have that base level of character, as Candace would have just said, spending time with God and spending time in the Word and obeying the Word in the way the Word say you ought to act, and you ought to conduct yourself. And that's exactly what we would have said before. Like that's what Walk That Talk is about. We talk a lot about stuff, but the Bible is our basis, and the Bible is the standard against which we measure
Yeah.
ourselves, everything that we do.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I see asking for a mic drop.
All right. But do you have any more? Do you have any more points, Mateela?
No, I've
Okay.
done and I've said everything already. I don't know if there are
Okay.
comments or questions or anything.
Okay. Cool, guys. I just want to encourage you all as you go show this week. Remember to forgive. Remember your mental health. Let's do a check on everything. Remember your mental health. Remember to forgive. And remember, there's a purpose in your Judas. And I see Auntie Lisa has another question. What is
The
the
purpose.
purpose of that character, Uncle Densley?
I'm asking. Yeah. I think by the purpose of that character, he means the character that would come out of you in obedience to the Bible. And the general purpose of that character would be the general purpose, I believe, of what we were all put here for. And that is sharing of the gospel, being a very good and true reflection of who Christ is, right? And that's what the Bible and the character development coming out of the Bible helps us to do, be more Christ-like, so that we can demonstrate and show characteristics of Christ, show the personality, the traits of Christians, what we as Christians supposed to, so that we could draw men unto Christ. So
Yeah,
if we know how to maintain posture, as Candace would have discussed earlier, the posture that we ought to maintain and stuff is what would make us appealing and what would draw people unto us.
And that's the goal, eh? That's the goal. Whatever we go through, the goal is that our experience will help someone else. Joseph went through his stuff, and the whole of Egypt was saved from the famine, as it were. Jesus went through his stuff, and we now have the beautiful gift of salvation. So all that is going on now is to mold you, but it's a beautiful gift for somebody else as well. So I was doing a little recap, Mateela. I was just saying, so far, we learned about mental health, about forgiveness, the purpose of your Judas. Our next episode, we'll let you all know about that. Coming up, look out for our in the week recaps, look out for our in the week discussions, and remember there's purpose in your Judas. Remember all that you're going through, there's purpose in it, and the questions are now coming up. Is there a part two to this topic? We didn't plan one.
What more do you need to know?
Yeah, we didn't plan one.
I didn't know. We didn't really plan one. Our plan really was to move on to, we kind of getting to know ourselves, getting to know each other and understanding ourselves and trying to figure out how we could be the best that we could be. If there's something that you guys think a subtopic that we want to discuss coming out of this, let us know. We could probably drop a short video or something during the week, or a short live at another time before the other episode. So just let us know. And I want to put out a little plea here. We want to hear from you all. Candace and I feel like we're talking a whole lot. I know you all ask a lot of questions and stuff. We want you all to, share your experiences. Not with Walk That Talk, but generally, we were really interested in hearing some of your Judas experiences and whether you felt like your Judas experience would have, catapulted you forward. Whether you would have noticed any personal development coming out of a Judas experience. Maybe our communications were not that clear, but it's not too late. So if you had an experience, share. Let us know what the experience was like. You don't have to call no names or anything like that. And just let us know what the lessons learned were. So I think that's it. If there's nothing else from the community, comment. I just found it to be excellent. And I want to hear about others who dealt with Judas negatively before really using it for purpose. That would be good. So that's what we're talking about, Let us know your experience. If you've had an experience where a Judas here, we're using Judas as a verb now, where you were Judas and you didn't really react right, and then you probably later on realize that there was some purpose in it. So Kwesi, you self could get anything started, drop a little comment, let's get a discussion going. And we could learn from each other, because we want to learn from you all as well. So waiting on a cue from the back. And this is very awkward, like when you're watching news and it have a delay between in the back and in front. So, yes.
It's a go.
And next question from Cindy, but I don't know about that. All right. Well, okay. So, I don't think we have. I have been a serious moment right now. All right, so I don't think we have anything else. I'm not sure where Candace-Joy has gone. I don't know what's going on, but thanks for joining us. It's good to have you all as usual. We really enjoy the preparation to come and discuss and to share with you all. We hope you all enjoy it as much. And as we say, we want to keep the learning. We want to encourage you learning to be a two-way street. So let us hear from you just as you hear from us. So you guys have a great evening. Have a great week ahead, and a blessed week ahead. And we'll see you guys the next time.
Bye, guys.
What is that? Bye. Bye, everyone. Have a good evening. Take care. Bye.